Please give a warm welcome to our next speaker, the next keynote by Mr. Aamir Khan, Chairman, Security and Exchange Commission of Pakistan.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Dr. Hussain Saab, esteemed speakers and participants, Assalamu alaikum. I would like to begin by commending the organizers under the leadership of Dr. Hussain Saab for this World Islamic Finance Forum 2022 and successfully putting together this conference. In Pakistan, Islamic finance assets have grown to 5.5 trillion as of 2021. And I'm talking about a CAGR over the 2 years of the pandemic, where they still showed a CAGR of 10.5%. And this compares very favorably with the CAGR for the conventional finance, which was only 3.4%. As far as the Islamic capital markets are concerned, as of March 2022, Sharia compliant scripts comprise 61% of the market capitalization at PSX. And the AUMs of the mutual fund schemes to the extent of 35%, and those for the pension fund schemes to the extent of 65% are Sharia compliant. SCCP has been driven in promoting Islamic finance by the 4 principles of protection, circulation, and halal augmentation of wealth, justice and fairness in return distribution, promoting real economic activities, and enhancement of societal well-being. In line with these goals, SCCP has been facilitating sustainable growth of Islamic finance in its regulated sectors. And I would like to talk about a few outcomes that took place over the last 2 years. The first was the listing of the Energy Sukuk PHL through a PSX book building mechanism. That was a first. The launch of the first ever Sharia compliant exchange traded fund, the approval of the first ever Sharia compliant development REIT in the country, revamping of the commodity Murahaba platform at PMEX, reform and consistent active utilization of Murabaha share financing product, progress towards Islamic financing against electronic warehouse receipts, approval of flotation of a green Mudarba, and permission of a Takaful operator to test parametric crop insurance, and licensing of 2 Sharia compliant housing finance companies, and finally disbursement of a lot of subsidized loans by the by Sharia compliant non-bank microfinance companies. Now these developments highlight the new approaches and innovations in the Islamic financial landscape under SCCP's regulated sectors. However, I am the first to admit that these incidents of progress notwithstanding, there are many structural things that we need to overcome in our financial sector ecosystem. And I would like to leave you with 3, the local audience, as well as I'm sure it's something which is applicable to the international audience as well. The first thing is that the financial landscape remains bank-centric and representing 74% of the country's total financial assets. The share of the Islamic banks is around 20%. And the product suite, if we look at it, is dominated by predominantly CASA, or the current and saving account in whatever form, and the corresponding lending as well as investment into government debt securities, or GDS. Now herein, I would like to mention that only 8% of the total GDS is available to Islamic banks. And this reflects into a deposit coverage of 43%, whereas for the conventional banks, this coverage translates into 137%. If we look at the capital market side, insurance and NBFI sectors collectively only contribute 10% of the financial assets in the country. And the number of insurance policy holders at 8.5 million and 500,000 stock market investors really pale in front of when we look at the number of bank accounts, which are about 62 million. The second element of focus that I would like to talk about is that for large part, the focus of financial inclusion effort has been credit-centric and has revolved around providing credit-based products and solutions. With long-term savings, investments, pensions, insurance provision and protection, and private equity not getting the same level of attention, and that is why they have lagged behind. Thirdly, in large part, the inclusion effort has led to some tangible outcomes in the urban centers. But the rural progress has remained limited, I would say, to the microfinance lending activity. Now, we all know that the rural sector contributes almost 10% of the deposits, but their share in advances is a mere 3.7%. This demonstrates that the design and outreach of financial services offerings remains focused on the urban centers and urban inhabitants. The above, I think, warrant a concerted and energized national level thrust to understand and address the complete spectrum of financial services that are needed by businesses and individuals, and by moving beyond basic Islamic banking and harnessing the role of capital markets, NBFIs, and insurance sectors. Be it a farm worker, a factory worker, or a female worker operating out of her house, the financial ecosystem must provide them the opportunity to advance and have a shot at achieving their goals and ambitions. Simply put, the growth of Pakistan's Islamic finance ecosystem is critical to achieve the broad-based prosperity that we so desire. Therefore, stakeholders must look beyond the existing achievements. And this brings me to the concluding part of my speech, and I'd like to leave 5 specific thoughts with you. Firstly, I would like to request, and the Federal Finance Minister, unfortunately he's not here, but I would like to request him to consider constituting a high-level steering committee for promotion of broad-based Islamic finance, similar to the committee that was formed in 2013 for the promotion of Islamic banking. The committee should be tasked with charting an impactful roadmap for future, encompassing all touch points for developing an Islamic finance ecosystem. Moreover, I would also recommend consideration of tax measures to actually promote the use of Islamic products and services among corporate sectors and businesses, rather than reviving the erstwhile 2% flat incentive that we used to have. Secondly, I think there is a need to promote a culture of innovation and entrepreneurship in Islamic finance space through a robust and ongoing exchange with present and potential market participants. At SECP, we have learned the benefits of the regulatory sandbox, wherein we have encouraged young entrepreneurs and nascent startups to come up with creative solutions and products, while simultaneously it has allowed us to recalibrate our regulatory approach and align it with the market developments and realities of the marketplace. Perhaps the same philosophy needs to be used to create an exclusive Islamic finance sandbox regime with the collaboration of all the stakeholders, including the financial sector regulators and some other relevant regulators. Thirdly, echoing what Madam Seema Kamil touched upon earlier, the Islamic finance industry needs to focus on the use of technology. The recent growth spurts in the digital NBFC lending space that we have witnessed must be replicated for broad-based Sharia-compliant financial inclusion. Islamic fintech products and solutions related to micro-takaful, parametric insurance, P2P lending, and robo-advisory, etc., can similarly be used to reach out to the financially excluded. Fourthly, there is plenty of room to leverage existing strengths through alliances, integrations, and product bundlings. Where a single product provider might struggle, technology can enable multi-product distribution models at the fraction of a cost and yet target a much larger customer base. I think there is a case from learning from an NBFC which is being set up to eventually provide pre and post-harvest financing, agri-financing, leasing of agri-equipment, crop insurance, pre-harvest information such as crop suitability, soil condition, and weather patterns. The agriculture and livestock value chains face certain significant challenges and consequently present opportunities for the Islamic finance industry. Lastly, there is a need, backed by sound business cases, for Islamic finance industry to spread their outreach to new and under and unserved areas and segments. To be successful, such ventures will require methodical research with customer-centric mindset, willingness to collaborate, ability to leverage technology, and use of digital mediums for spreading education and creating awareness. We must use Islamic finance to develop all-embracing solutions to cater to the entire life cycle of businesses and ordinary citizens. Here I'm not just talking about products, I'm referring to a holistic review of the need patrons and the evolution that takes place during the life cycle of businesses as well as individuals. And without catering to those entire life cycle needs and changing patterns, we will not be able to develop a complete financing ecosystem which can fittingly meet those needs. In conclusion, I must say that I'm confident that the vision of prosperity through Islamic finance can become a reality with requisite support from the government, regulators, academia, and the industry. Such synergy is critical to achieve also sustainable progress. I wish and I hope that discussions here today and tomorrow would help in finding solutions and formulating strategies that chart the future course of Islamic finance and use its immense power and potential for prosperity for all. I thank you.